The channel you want to listen to. Dover Community Radio.
This is Terry Cleaver here reporting for Dover Community Radio. The date is the 24th of March 2012 and I'm here in the heart of Dover next to the Discovery Centre where they are building a replica of the Dover Bronze Age boat. Here with me I have lead project reconstructor Richard Darragh. Hello Richard, how are you today?
Hi, I'm Richard Darragh and I'm reconstructing this boat. It's actually open to the public on Wednesdays and Saturdays between 10 and 4, except unfortunately it's closed on Easter Saturday.
What made you decide to build a replica of the Bronze Age boat?
Firstly, there is an exhibition of the Bronze Age going across the channel to both France and Belgium as well as in England, and they wanted to have the boat represented in the exhibition, and so there was funding to build it. But we still need to answer a number of questions about the Bronze Age boat and its complexity, and although the boat in the museum at Dover is a fabulous exhibition object of a Bronze Age boat, it is both distorted and bits are missing, and so in our reconstruction we're going to recreate the missing pieces and we're going to straighten out the distortion in the timbers. And to make it easier for ourselves, we're doing it all at half scale.
So the project is going to be actually used as well, is it, in exhibitions?
It's going to go both on the sea in Dover and be used in exhibitions.
So what sort of tools are you actually using to build the Bronze Age boat replica?
Well, the timbers arrive on site by lorry. We don't have to go and fell them in a forest and drag them there with honeysuckle ropes. We can actually get them delivered. But we are finishing the timbers with Bronze Age copies of Bronze Age tools. So we're using bronze axes and bronze adzes to shape the timbers. And they are very effective. And if you want to make a shape that was made in the Bronze Age, it does help if you use the right type of tools to do it.
Definitely, and we can actually hear them using the tools in the background. Please could you actually tell us what the tools actually look like for our listeners?
The bronze tools are a reddy gold colour, and they're made of an alloy of copper and tin, and the copper and tin would be melted in a mould and cast into shape. And so the axe shape has an axe edge and it's fixed onto a wooden handle with rawhide, and it's a very effective and functional tool.
And of course this is what they actually used in the Bronze Age. How did you actually find out these were the tools that the people used back then?
Because they're bronze, and bronze is an alloy of copper and tin, it's almost indestructible, and so bronze tools that were lost, buried, or thrown overboard when a boat sank to save a boat sinking survive. And in Kent we have quite a lot of examples. You can see them in the museum. They not only have tools, they also have swords surviving and spearheads, and some of them survive in near perfect condition. So we know exactly the type of tools they were using. You can see the hammer marks on near the edge of the tool where they work hardened the material when they've been shaping it, and you can see the sharpening marks on some of the tools as well. So we know exactly what the tools were like, and we've had exact copies made of them that we're using in this reconstruction.
That's amazing, that is. Was Dover a hub of Bronze Age boat building in the Bronze Age? Would there have been echoes of the sounds of this throughout the Dower Valley?
It would be nice to think so. Unfortunately, with a boat, the place where it is abandoned is not necessarily the place where it was first built. So we don't know whether this boat was built in Dover. However, there is a dating technique called Dendrochronology, where they measure the annual rings of the boat with annual rings of trees with a microscope, and they can match these into known growth patterns of trees, and they can date boats from that. So from that, we know the date of the boat is round about 1550 BC, but we also know that the tree ring patterns match those from some of the British chronologies, and so we know that it was made somewhere in the British Isles.
That's certainly interesting to know, isn't it? Will you use all British wood in the reconstruction?
As we're doing a reconstruction that's going to be used on both sides of the channel, we've used some British trees and some French trees.
And what type of wood are you using in the reconstruction?
For the hull itself, we're using oak trees, and the hull planks are stitched together with yew withes. But for the handles of the tools, we often use ash, but also cherry and yew and holly.
There's certainly a variety of wood that's used in the original boat and the reconstruction. Is there a reason why there are so many varieties of wood used?
That's a very interesting question, because what happens, we're looking at a people who had wood all round them, and because they had wood all round them, they knew the properties of all the species of wood, and they used all of these for things that they were doing. And so their use of wood would be much more specific and much more, and they would use many more species than we now tend to use.
For our listeners, could you please describe what the actual boat looks like, how you're constructing it here on site?
It's the oak timber is a light golden brown in colour, and the planks are long curved planks, and carved into the surface of each of the planks are some upstanding pieces which we call cleats, which held the transverse timbers that fix the boat together.
And all this to be fixed together using the materials?
Yes,
as
it's
well?
stitched together with yew stitches, and the stitch holes are then sealed with beeswax, and between each stitch they lay a mat of moss, and then they hammer in wooden laths under the stitching, which compacts the moss and makes a tight, watertight joint.
So hopefully it will sail okay across the channel when you try it out?
Because it's half scale, we're not actually taking this one across the channel.
Okay.
The big difference between the boat we're making here and the one in the museum is, as it's half scale, every piece is only 1/8 of the weight of the timbers of the full scale. And if you come and visit it, you'll see it's still quite a big structure, but the boat itself is a very, very much bigger structure than that.
So will you be testing it out on water anywhere locally?
Yes, we are. We're going to launch the finished boats in Dover Harbour sometime early in May.
What sort of things would the original Bronze Age boat have been used for to ferry across the channel?
We do know from the Langdale hoard, which are French bronzes, that so a boat sank in Langdale Bay, or probably sank in Langdale Bay, and the cargo from that went overboard. So clearly bronzes were being brought over by boat from France. You have a number of other things that can be brought, everything from slaves to cattle and other animals. And it's always possible that boats like this were used for transporting the bluestones from Wales to Stonehenge, because this boat at 1,500 BC is not the first one of these boats they built. It's a long way down the line from the earlier ones they built, so that the technology may have gone on for at least 1,000 years before that. So lots of things, everything from large pieces of stone, quern stones, large pots, people, warriors to go into battle, all sorts of different things can be transported by the boat.
So there were other Bronze Age boats then. Have any of the other ones been found?
Yes, there are a series of boats found on the Humber estuary at a place called North Ferriby, and it's always assumed that these were used for getting people across the River Humber in Yorkshire. There's another cargo from a bronze boat at Salcombe. The boat doesn't survive, but down in Devon. There's clear evidence that the same group of people were living on both sides of the channel in the Bronze Age, so that there would have been boats in France as well, and they've got a small piece of boat surviving in Wales on the Severn Estuary.
That's amazing how many of them actually survive, isn't it?
It would be nice, and of course there's still part of this boat buried in Dover, because they didn't excavate all of it. They only excavated the southern half of the boat in Dover.
Would there ever be a chance of excavating the northern half of the boat here in Dover?
One would hope that it was excavated, because this is a really sophisticated and complicated structure from the Bronze Age, much more sophisticated and complicated than anything else that we've ever found from the Bronze Age. And so it's a great pity that it's being left in a vulnerable position in the ground, where, because of local drainage, the timber might dry out and break up.
That'd be awful, really.
It would be really sad if we lost that, yes.
So how many people are actually building the Bronze Age boat replica on this project?
We've got 6 people working on it at the moment, but we've got a core of 4 people who are working on it most of the time.
Would that have been how many would have built the original one, do you think?
No, because everything is 8 times as heavy. You're probably talking about a team of 40 or 50 people working on the boat, and many more to fell trees, collect moss, collect the yew for the withes and other things that need collecting.
There's quite a few hours work that's been put in as well on this project.
Yes, I mean this is a long-term project. There's a big museum exhibition that's going to be in Dover, I think in 2013, of some bronzes from the British Museum and from various French museums and other museums, and there's going to be a really good exhibition that goes with the boat as it travels round.
And how can people actually find out more about the replica project? I suppose they should really come down here, shouldn't they?
Yes, they could come down and have a look at what we're doing, and that's the best way to find out about it.
Thank you very much, Richard, for allowing me to come down and speak to you here today. I wish you the very best of success with this fantastic project.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much. Do come and visit us. Remember, it's open on Wednesdays and Saturdays between 10 and 4 p.m, except for Easter Saturday when it's closed.
Thank you, Richard.
Yeah. Goodbye.
Dover Community Radio, here to present you with local music and news.